The mind once enlightened cannot again become dark. These are the times that try men's souls. To argue with a man who has renounced the use and authority of reason, and whose philosophy consists in holding humanity in contempt, is like administering medicine to the dead, or endeavoring to convert an atheist by scripture. Independence is my happiness, and I view things as they are, without regard to place or person. My country is the world, and my religion is to do good. Reputation is what men and women think of us. Character is what God and angels know of us. Whatever is my right as a man is also the right of another, and it becomes my duty to guarantee as well as to possess. Those who expect to reap the blessings of freedom must, like men, undergo the fatigues of supporting it. The harder the conflict, the more glorious the triumph. What we obtain too cheap, we esteem too lightly. It is dearness only that gives everything its value. I love the man that can smile in trouble, that can gather strength from distress and grow. What we obtain too cheap, we esteem too lightly. It is dearness only that gives everything its value. Heaven knows how to put a proper price upon its goods. And it would be strange indeed if so celestial an article as freedom should not be highly rated. It is from the Bible that man has learned cruelty, rapine, and murder. For the belief of a cruel God makes a cruel man. A long habit of not thinking a thing wrong gives it a superficial appearance of being right, and raises at first a formidable outcry in defense of custom. But the tumult soon subsides. Time makes more converts than reason. If there must be trouble, let it be in my day, that my child may have peace. One good schoolmaster is of more use than 100 priests. Government, even in its best state, is but a necessary evil. In its worst state, an intolerable one. I have always strenuously supported the right of every man to his own opinion, however different that opinion might be to mine. He who denies to another this right, makes a slave of himself to his present opinion, because he precludes himself the right of changing it. A body of men holding themselves accountable to nobody, ought not to be trusted by anybody. We have it in our power to begin the world over again. The real man smiles in trouble, gathers strength from distress, and grows brave by reflection. Character is much easier kept than recovered. He who dares not offend cannot be honest. The greatest remedy for anger is delay. Human nature is not of itself vicious. Tyranny, like hell, is not easily conquered. Yet we have this consolation with us, that the harder the conflict, the more glorious the triumph. Moderation in temper is always a virtue, but moderation in principle is always a vice. My own mind is my own church. It is necessary to the happiness of man that he be mentally faithful to himself. Infidelity does not consist in believing or in disbelieving, it consists in professing to believe what he does not believe. Persecution is not an original feature in any religion, but it is always the strongly marked feature of all religions established by law. If I do not believe as you believe, it proves that you do not believe as I believe, and that is all that it proves. From the errors of other nations, let us learn wisdom. Reason obeys itself, and ignorance submits to whatever is dictated to it. The Christian religion is a parody on the worship of the sun, in which they put a man called Christ in the place of the sun, and pay him the adoration originally paid to the sun. One of the strongest natural proofs of the folly of hereditary right in kings is that nature disapproves it. Otherwise, she would not so frequently turn it into ridicule by giving mankind an ass for a lion. It is error only, and not truth, that shrinks from inquiry. He that would make his own liberty secure must guard even his enemy from oppression. For if he violates this duty, he establishes a precedent that will reach to himself. Let them call me rebel and welcome, I feel no concern from it. But I should suffer the misery of devils, were I to make a whore of my soul, by swearing allegiance to one whose character is that of a sottish, stupid, stubborn, worthless, brutish man. For all men being originally equals, no one by birth could have the right to set up his own family in perpetual preference to all others forever, and though himself might deserve some decent degree of honors of his contemporaries, yet his descendants might be far too unworthy to inherit them. Taxes are not raised to carry on wars, but that wars are raised to carry on taxes. All the tales of miracles, with which the Old and New Testament are filled, are fit only for impostors to preach, and fools to believe. Small islands, not capable of protecting themselves, are the proper objects for kingdoms to take under their care. But there is something absurd in supposing a continent to be perpetually governed by an island. That there are men in all countries who get their living by war, and by keeping up the quarrels of nations, is as shocking as it is true. Let a crown be placed thereon, by which the world may know that so far as we approve of monarchy, that in America the law is king. For as in absolute governments the king is law, so in free countries the law ought to be king, and there ought to be no other. Government, like dress, is the badge of lost innocence. The palaces of kings are built on the ruins of the bowers of paradise. An army of principles can penetrate where an army of soldiers cannot. When men yield up the privilege of thinking, the last shadow of liberty quits the horizon. Nothing, they say, is more certain than death, and nothing more uncertain than the time of dying. The greatest tyrannies are always perpetuated in the name of the noblest causes. When all other rights are taken away, the right of rebellion is made perfect. It is the duty of every man, as far as his ability extends, to detect and expose delusion and error. You cannot undermine police authority and then complain about rising crime. The most formidable weapon against errors of every kind is reason. I have never used any other, and I trust I never shall. Common sense will tell us that the power which hath endeavored to subdue us is of all others the most improper to defend us. Man did not enter society to be worse off, or to have fewer rights, but rather to have those rights better secured. The slavery of fear had made men afraid to think. Our greatest enemies, the ones we must fight most often, are within. Men should not petition for rights, but take them. An egoist is a person who, having not sexually satisfied his wife at night and thinks, "It was good for me, but she will get away with it anyway." The strength and power of despotism consists wholly in the fear of resistance. Suspicion is the companion of mean souls, and the bane of all good society. It is the direction, and not the magnitude, which is to be taken into consideration.